us look at fundamental and derived quantity. I want to welcome you to our maths and physics class. Fundamental and derived quantities in physics. How do we differentiate between them? How do we know them? Now, simply put, fundamental quantities are quantities that are measured directly from any body or phenomenon or figures. So these are just measurements that are gotten from the word fundamental. Fundamental means basic, it means primary, it means first, what you get as you measure. Take for instance, if I have a rectangle and I want to measure the length, once I put my rule or ruler here and I measure to this end, if I get 5 centimeters for instance, this one becomes my fundamental quantity. Then if I measure from here to here and I get 3 centimeters, it becomes my fundamental quantity. Because it does not have anything to do with calculating before getting it. It does not have anything to do with calculation of any or bringing them together before getting it. So it becomes the primary, the fundamental, the basic, the first that I get from measurements. So that one tells us that one example of fundamental quantity is what? Length. We just measure the length of a rectangle here now. We measure this length, the longer one, then the shorter one, we measure it as 5 and 3. Another example of fundamental quantity is seconds. Seconds is also a fundamental quantity. Because if I want to measure the time that a body will move from a place to another, or I want to measure the time that a phenomenon, a process will take from the beginning to the end, I will just set my time, use my stopwatch or use my stop clock, and the phenomenon starts. If it ends, I stop the clock and I take my time. I just look at it and get the value. So seconds is another fundamental quantity that we can have. Now, what about derived quantity? From the word derived, it means that you use something to get it. You use something to derive it. So it's a derived quantity. You arrive at that quantity using other quantities. So fundamental quantities join together or are reacted together, either in division, multiplication, addition, or subtraction, to get another quantity. That quantity that you get becomes the derived quantity. What do we mean and how do we mean? Let us look at this now. We are going back to this rectangle. If I decide to calculate the area of this rectangle, what are the fundamental quantities that I need? One, I will need length, then I will multiply with the breadth. So the length and the breadth becomes the fundamental quantity, which is length here. Then if I multiply it and I have 5 times 3, and that will give me 15 centimeter square. So this is now the area. So it shows that I have used these fundamental quantities to get this one area. So this one is a derived quantity from the fundamental quantities. So it shows that example of derived quantity is what? Area. Area is a derived quantity. It's an example. These are fundamentals. Fundamental quantity. Now, let us look at another one. If I want to calculate volume, I will not measure volume from anything using any instrument. What do? I will calculate it. Length times breadth times height. So the length, the breadth, and the height are all what? Fundamental quantities. All of them are lengths. So they are examples of fundamental quantity length. But the volume, I use this fundamental quantity to get the volume. So volume becomes another derived quantity, example of derived quantity. So you see that fundamental quantities and derived quantities are different. The difference between them is that you take fundamental quantity as direct measurement of the length or time that is taken for a phenomenon, or direct measurement of any quantity that we have. Once you get that direct measurement, it becomes fundamental because you need it to get another. So those ones you get after getting the fundamental is called the derived, because you derive them from using the fundamental quantities. So I hope that this one will give us a better understanding of fundamental quantities and derived quantities. And examples that we have stated so far, I just feel there are a lot of them more. Pressure is another derived quantity. Pressure is a derived quantity. Acceleration, we have velocity, and so on and so forth. So all these ones are examples of derived quantity because you use fundamental quantity to calculate them. So in other words, whatever you calculate, when you calculate and you get something, that thing you get is a derived quantity. But those that you use to get it, not just all, but some of them that you measure directly are what? Fundamental quantities. Thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this video and you have gained a lot. Please do not forget to share these videos for others to learn as well, and for you to get our videos when we drop them. Like, comment, and follow us on our Facebook page. Follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow us on our TikTok. Thank you for watching.